Hi, everyone around the world, and I am so happy that I have both Chocolate and Fluffy with me on this Thanksgiving Eve, when we're going to have some fun and some things maybe a little serious. But one of the things, to start off, we are about to break through to 190,000 subscribers. We are so close. So everyone who hasn't hit that red subscriber button, please do it now. And we'll announce live in the broadcast if we tick over to 190,000. It would be so fun if we do that tonight. And all of you in the Earthfiles YouTube channel audience right now, you are the stars tonight. Ian is standing by to toss me your questions, and Brad is waiting with the 4-minute bell for our Thanksgiving holiday special lightning round of questions. But first, I would like to honor Leo Sprinkle, PhD, who passed into another dimension on November 15th at the age of 91 in Laramie, Wyoming. Leo was one of the kindest people I have ever known. He helped students and so many others at the University of Wyoming, where he was director of counseling and testing from 1964 to 1989.
Whenever you're ready, just go right ahead. You can talk and describe your experiences.
From the 1970s onward, Dr. Sprinkle realized that many people were struggling in silence about high strangeness in their lives that eventually would be acknowledged as the UFO abduction syndrome or UFO experiencer. His wisdom and skill in the use of hypnosis were invaluable in the 9 months of documentary film production that I did for the CBS station in Denver, Colorado from 1979 to 1980. That documentary was A Strange Harvest, about bloodless, trackless animal mutilations that law enforcement and some people in the abduction phenomenon linked to non-human intelligences interacting with Earth that have been harvesting genetic material plus fluids and tissues for sustenance for millennia.
Relaxation. You can feel yourself even going deeper.
A Strange Harvest was first broadcast on May 25, 1980, and one of the most important segments was Dr. Sprinkle's hypnosis with abductee Judy Doherty. In May 1973, she watched a calf rise up in a pale yellow beam of light into a UFO from a pasture outside Houston, Texas. Then, she and her teenage daughter Cindy were also taken up in the beam into a round room aboard the UFO craft. Judy sketched this gray-skinned being with large eyes that had vertical pupils like a snake. She watched this gray entity use a blade to excise thin strips of tissue from the still-alive calf's testicles. Then the calf was lowered to the ground, dead. As Dr. Sprinkle asked hypnotized Judy Doherty his insightful questions, Judy described thoughts coming into her mind from the gray being that included that excising tissues from the calf was necessary to study poisons from contaminated water on this planet, that the gray entities were trying to help humans. But Judy countered by asking if they were so knowledgeable, why can't they stop the poisoning contamination? Her question, Judy said under hypnosis, made the gray being angry. Thank you, dear Leo, in whatever dimension your good soul is now. Dr. Sprinkle is survived by his wife Marilyn in Laramie, Wyoming, and by his sons Nelson, Eric, Matt, daughter Kristen, and 6 grandchildren. Details will be announced later for a public memorial service to be held in Laramie in the summer of 2022. When confirmed, I'll share that announcement at Earthfiles. And on a personal note, while Dr. Sprinkle and I were flying in the airliner to the Arizona City where we did the 3 to 4 hour hypnosis with Judy Doherty, recorded for my documentary camera. He told me that one of the things that he listened for with UFO abductees were the phrase or phrases like this: I feel like I'm in two places at once. And then, almost like on cue, it wasn't like he said anything to Judy or I didn't say anything to her. We were in the first hour of hypnosis, and at one point she said that she felt like she was in two places at once, standing beside her car on the side of the road, and simultaneously felt like she was in a round room on the craft. And it was at that point Dr. Sprinkle was listening, was ready, and he began probing more about the two places at once. And Judy went into more and more details, vividly reliving what had happened. God bless you, dear Leo Sprinkle. And now, to my dear friends Ian and Brad, let's start our Thanksgiving Eve lightning round of questions.
Good evening, Linda. First question. Did high strangeness bring you to New Mexico?
Not specifically, it was more climate. I came in 2004, and that was the year it began raining in Philadelphia and the surrounding suburbs. I was living up in near Doylestown. And in February of that year, it was a big headline in the Philadelphia Inquirer having to do with that the rain was not stopping. It just kept getting wetter and wetter. And there was flooding over in the Delaware, and it was like, in a strange way, it was like a prelude to what would come even greater in 10 more years, and look at what is happening today. But there was this intuitive feeling that I had strongly that I needed to get away from the water. That was just the way it felt. And my brother, who I just adore, he and I have spent some of the most wonderful times of our lives together from childhood on. He had come back from being a helicopter pilot in the Air Force to being hired by Lockheed Martin in Albuquerque. And I had been coming on holidays to Albuquerque with my parents. And so I was very grounded and comfortable with this area. And I love mountains. I think I love mountains more than oceans, and I don't know why. But I feel comfortable around mountains, and I have the big sandiacrest that I look out at my windows, and it feels not only like it is stunning and beautiful and this incredible uplift of granite, but it also somehow feels friendly, like protective. And so that was the big motivation, the climate in 2004 that got me here. But certainly, as implied in your question, that there have been so many people that I have met in Albuquerque that have related their own UFO encounters or stories in military or whatever, that this has been a very, very rich and deep ground to be investigating the work that I do. So I am very glad that I am in Albuquerque, New Mexico. All right, Ian, did I make it? I made it without the first bell ring.
Next question. With 270 million years having this as their laboratory, could the ETs have experimented with dinosaur DNA to make them humanoid, i.e. the upright reptiles, I think they're talking about, as they might have done to make humans with ape DNA?
I will tell you exactly what that Defense Intelligence Agency agent told me in that extraordinary 7-hour meeting. It was on the East Coast, and it was where boats went in and out. And the discussion, when he started, he set it up that his job for the DIA had been to study and analyze and monitor the competition and conflict of three competing extraterrestrial biological entity civilizations that had been harvesting genetic material, terraforming this planet for at least 270 million years, and our government had proof. And that was his definition that when I said, what is the proof? He said it would be too dangerous if he told either of us. But the 270 million years, it was setting a new stage for me. This was in 1999, of how long and overwhelmingly embracing of the entire Earth's history extraterrestrial civilizations could be. I think at that time in 1999, I certainly was thinking that the extraterrestrials had been involved with this planet for thousands of years. He was taking it back 270 million. And then he went on to explain exactly at the heart of your question, that in this competition of three extraterrestrial civilizations, that there was an effort to do genetic manipulation on this Earth and he divided the three that were competing as the Greys, which had a lot of artificial intelligence in them, the tall blondes known as the Nordics, and reptilian humanoids, and that the reptilian humanoids and the blondes had been trying to annihilate each other for maybe the whole 270 million years. The Greys were more players, finding advantages and ways of interacting with the other two, but that, according to the DIA analyst, all of the dinosaurs were an experiment by one, two, or three. They may have all gotten involved. It may have started with the reptilians, but that the 270 million years goes back before the emergence of dinosaurs. And he said the emergence of dinosaurs was an experiment, a genetic experiment, and that what bothered him and our government was that they knew if the Greys were responsible, or the reptilians, he knew that the Greys had demonstrated for our government that they could move matter out of this particular universe into other dimensions, and that the 6-mile diameter asteroid, or large piece of an asteroid, that slammed into the Gulf of Mexico, as we call it today, and created the Chicxulub crater that was about 65 to 66 million years ago. It destroyed the dinosaurs. It destroyed tremendous amounts of Earth life. And he said, we know the Greys could have moved it into another dimension and saved the dinosaurs. And they didn't. What does that mean? Okay, I went a little over. I'll try to pick it up on this question shorter.
Okay, Linda, if you could spend time with an EBE, which one would you choose and why, if there is a time, if there's time to?
That really is an excellent question. And I guess that my answer ties into the thoughts that I had when I started going to England in the crop formations and talked with people, some who were apparently in England working for our government. And they referred to the crop formations as mathematical languages. And they are the ones who suggested to me that some of the, whether it was the Vesica Pisces or other particular patterns and geometries, that you can find echoed in the ancient history of our planet. And that one of the areas that they kept raising to me as a possible connection to the intelligence behind crop circles would be, what were the progenitors to the Celts and to that northern part of Europe? And the discussions that we had about, was Michael the Archangel carved in stone all over in Ireland and Western England and that area? Could that blonde, as he was depicted, that angel Michael, actually be one of the tall blonde Nordics? And I began to feel a deep, deep interest in trying to understand, in our own history of various races and bloodlines on the earth, what would show up the most in terms of discussions by abductees. Who were they meeting? For the most part, for a long time, it was just grays. And then you began to hear about reptilians, and every once in a while about the tall blondes. But what is the relationship of the tall blonde and blue eyes or gold eyes to the reptilians and to the grays? Well, that was partly filled in for me by the DIA analyst in December of 1999. But on a bigger scale, would it be possible, is this a workable theory, that all of the philosophies and the religions and the spiritual evolution of Homo sapiens sapien on the planet and all that preceded in different standing up humanoids is the link between other civilizations, such as the tall Nordics? Is there a direct link to what we have had on Earth as historical landscapes that we have called religions, spiritual philosophies? And once you get there and you begin reading everything through a different lens, I guess I would most like to have the ability to stand in front of one of the tall blondes and see if I could take their telepathy. Some people can't. And then try to have a dialogue asking them, if words and telepathy are too arduous, can you show me movies? I've talked with people, can you show me movies going all the way back to the dinosaurs and all the way up? I made it. All right.
Well done, Linda.
This is
Linda.
fun. Okay, let's see if I can do that again.
All right. Why was the ISS not able to photograph Oumuamua when it passed?
Oh, Ian, I love the way you UK. It's Hawaiian. It's Oumuamua. And
Oumuamua.
yeah, Oumuamua. Now, that question, I remember asking Avi Loeb, who was at the time chairman of the astronomy department of Harvard. He's still there. He's gone from being the chairman, but he's involved with Starshot and so many important research investigations. And he is the one who, more than any, we'll say, outstanding, incredible scientist, has hypothesized in Scientific American and in other papers that Oumuamua was, in fact, an old, ancient craft, disguised, perhaps, as something like a flat, long asteroid or meteorite. And his hypothesis is that it's a derelict old craft. Well, who else told me exactly that? But Dr. Loeb didn't know about any of my work with Spartan 1 and Spartan 2, and I didn't talk with him about it at all. And it was Spartan 1 and Spartan 2 when I was doing the filming with them in 2018. They told me that they both had inside information. SEAL 1, Spartan 1 was SEALs and Spartan 2 was Marines. But they had a common friend and colleague, the uncle of Spartan 1, who had worked on Pentagon projects for a long time. And they referenced him as being the one who told them that when Oumuamua made headlines, they were told by their relative, we already know it is an old craft. We don't think it's operational, but that speed up at the end when it took out at something like 196,000 miles an hour going out of the solar system, and there was nothing that the general astronomy world could see that would say that it had any kind of a coating of ice or snow, that usually as it would come to the sun and heat up, that there could be some kind of natural acceleration from the gases that would be burning off of surrounding if it were something like a comet, and that there was nothing like that. They did not find any ice coating, any water on Oumuamua. So back to Dr. Avi Loeb, Professor Avi Loeb, his hypothesis is it may still have been functioning for something, someone from some other, well, let's just say a solar system still in the Milky Way galaxy, and that acceleration at the end may have been something that was technology. That's not proved, but it means that Oumuamua, which has just recently been in more headlines about what was this strange thing really, I keep thinking of Professor Avi Loeb's writing and writing in Scientific American. And I did an interview with him for Earthfiles about his theory that this was a craft disguised. And until proved otherwise, I think it's exciting to think about this. All right.
Just take a breather for a minute, Linda. I'm going to say thank you to the generous super chats this evening.
Oh, thank you.
Here we go. Moonbird, Rainy River Girl, Courtney C, Kevin Spina, Space Ghost, James Thiessen, Jonathan S, and Light in Will I Am Robin. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Ian.
Okay, Linda, this is hopefully a quick question. Linda, the audience would like to know, what do you feed your cats? Do they like any special treats? Because they always look so healthy.
Thank you. I can't use any canned food because Chocolate has one of those stomachs that he will vomit. And so from early kittenhood, it was really clear that I had to get food that dear Chocolate could take. And Fluffy, I think, could eat anything. He is absolutely this most adorable seeker out of anything to eat. And his brother is the opposite, has to be very finicky. So I have found 3 different things that work for them beautifully and that does not cause dear Chocolate to throw up. One is that I have a brand of cat food for sensitive stomachs. It's made by IAM, and it works beautifully. I keep a bowl all the time for them, and they come and graze off of it, and never any problem. But we also have this fun, they've turned it into a routine because they seem to absorb time cycles, and they keep me on time cycles. Morning, it's going to be turkey snacks. And it isn't a lot. It's like 6 or 8 of those little pieces. And a group goes to Fluffy and a group goes to Chocolate, and they love those turkey. And then by noon, and Fluffy will be the one who comes first, and then I don't even have to look at a clock. I know it's got to be noon. I switch up to Chicken. But again, they are these little pieces, like taste morsels, and they're not in a meat category, but they're apparently made from something that chicken in one and the turkey in another. And the same thing, they get little treats, and they then wait until night, and they want to go back to the turkey. So it is this combination of having them always be able to graze on this really good sensitive stomach food anytime they want with fresh water, and then their little snacks that they keep me doing because they come to me. They come to me on those hours, and I know that's exactly what they want, and I love them so much, and it's a fun break in the day, and that is what Fluffy and Chocolate keep going on. Plus, we love each other. Hey, I beat the bell.
Well done. I guess that does happen sometimes. Okay, next question comes from a viewer in Greece. Linda, should we go towards the light when we die or not? Some say it may be a trap.
I do not know how or why Rantha and some of those people, at least a decade or two ago, why they started saying, go to the dark. Intuitively, at every fiber of my being, the first time I ever heard that, it was like hackles. That is a lie. Why would anything be saying that? That is a lie. And in fact, I remember, this is very interesting, it's coming flooding back in my memory. I was asked to speak in Oregon at a gathering of people that were like the Rantha and the people that started this about at the moment of death, go to the dark. And they had asked me to come and speak about animal mutilations, and John Lear had been there, and he had called me and said, Linda, I suggested that they have you come, and I urge you to do this. And the night before I was to speak, I was asked to go to, would be like an American version of a beautiful smoking room, I guess, that after dinner, you think of England, that men especially would go to a beautiful room with books and have cognac. It was kind of that feeling, but we weren't drinking anything. And this woman who was the host had me sit down at a table, and there were 4 or 5 men who had followed us in as if they all knew what they were going to do, but I was the one on the outside not knowing, except that I had just been asked to come and talk with them. And the men sat down on a sofa, and the woman who was the host of this gathering and myself, I sat down. And she began a spiritual definition of what she wanted to say, that in doing these kinds of conferences, that here's what they wanted audiences to leave with. And as she spoke, and she got to those words, and you do know, of course, that at the moment of death, you do not go to the light, you go to the dark. And I said, and I remember the room went so quiet. It was like the men stopped breathing. And I guess there's a warrior in me around certain levels of spiritual issues. Maybe I was a gladiator, maybe who knows. But when those words were presented to me, sitting right across from her, I just said my truth. She had talked for like 5 minutes, and I said, there is nothing that you have just said to me that I think is true. And the men gasped. And you can sort of fill in the details for yourself. So no, you go to the light. All right.
Okay, Linda. Linda, should we expect anything different from the newly announced Pentagon group, AOIMSG? And Dr. Dolores M says that doesn't even have a catchy acronym. Do you think it's just a new name for the same old story?
Yeah, at Earthfiles this morning, I posted news. And I basically said they're just taking out the one acronym and they're bringing in one that is unpronounceable. And it is almost as if somebody has said, let's just keep deflecting. We're going to keep creating a new unit for this and a new unit for that. And the news will get so frustrated at all of these acronyms and the divisions, and we will reduce the temperature on this whole question about UFOs and UAPs and are we alone? So I feel it is a psychological strategy covering up the truth. And the truth as I know it from people who have been in both offices in the Pentagon and in the military, in 1972, that early, we had a Space Force that was taken, I have been told, by one of the, might be Greys, might be Nordics. And a Space Force contingency was taken to the planet Mars, where there was already an underground base in a lava tube that had been prepared by, whether it was the Greys or the Nordics, and that we have had Space Force going to Mars, based on Mars, and going on through the solar system. Certainly, we have had Space Force at Ganymede and out beyond. And so when you look at that, a headline with an unpronounceable, incomprehensible abbreviation that's not going to work its way into any normal human conversation is a cover-up, another deflection, when we've already been going out into other solar systems with the help of ally non-humans since 1972. And this is 2021. So I really do think we're getting a lot of kabuki theater. And that behind the kabuki theater, we're already in serious relationships at different solar systems having to do with rare metals, getting them back to Earth, gold. There's a lot that is still going on right now. And so it's just absurd that what we're being handed are these acronyms as if this will answer anything and deflect. So I say to all you guys, keep asking, no matter what state you're in, write letters to your senators and your congressmen asking for the truth, asking for more information, saying that the acronyms from the Pentagon are not answers to the Tic Tac or to any of the videos that the Pentagon has even acknowledged are in the category of unidentified aerial phenomena. Unidentified aerial phenomena are UFOs, unidentified flying objects of history. And the DIA guy told me 270 million years of competition between three extraterrestrial civilizations manipulating DNA, creating life, harvesting various metals. So that, I think, is the lens that you have to look at these kinds of headlines. Well,
Well done. You
I'm
answered
getting
that
in
one
sync.
on the bow. Okay, here's another one for you from Marion S., who's a long-time viewer and listener. Listening to Linda's account of Judy's story, if these ETs had to take tissue from calves or at a calf, why couldn't they sedate the animal so it would not suffer? Were they angry? She thinks they were lying.
There is so much about the animal mutilations that I think we mentioned this last week, but I can tell you more now. I still can remember Tex Graves, the sheriff up in Logan County in Sterling, on that first trip when I went up there and looked at his color Polaroids, and he looked at me and said, "Linda, I'll save you some time. The perpetrators of these bloodless, trackless animal mutilations are creatures from outer space." And it was in that dialogue that day in Sterling, Colorado, that later he said to me, one of the things we do not understand is why do these creatures that are mutilating these animals, why do they bring them back? I've got ranchers who have seen animals rise in beams of light into the UFOs. Other people have seen animals lowered in beams down into the pasture, just like Judy and Cindy, Judy, Dorothy, and Cindy, that they watched a pale yellow beam. They saw it when they were in the car. And this is before they are both abducted. They saw the yellow beam, they saw the calf rising in the beam of light. A lot of people have seen this. They're just afraid to talk about it in public. And the sheriff saying to me, why? If these beings can take these animals and do it without any tracks because they're using the beam, there's no blood, there's no fluid, they can take a heart out of a chest without any surgery, why do they bother to return the animals to be found? And that has been a haunting question always. And I remember saying to the sheriff that some of the Polaroids that he showed me had a feeling to me of flaunting the ability to paralyze that steer that I've talked about, with its head being the only part of the animal that was allowed to move, and dug an 8-inch hole with its head, while the feet, front and back, were perfect. There was not one line, not one trace of any movement of that body, only the head. And that it was almost like a demonstration of, we can control anything that we want to. So I always concluded that the return of the animals was flaunting to be intimidating. Somebody else recently suggested this, that from an alien point of view, the returning of the animals is like a handshake. We needed this. We took what we need. We put this back. And then another email that I got last week. Linda, did you ever consider the possibility that cattle from Earth are just too big to store in UFOs, and they don't want the animals up in their craft, and so it's just dumping like trash? The thing I've learned is not one answer. There isn't one answer. There could be many.
Linda, we've got quite a few people sharing their own experiences of the abductions, etc., in the chat tonight. And Cheryl J says, who can we contact for help with abduction and something that has been implanted?
Just a minute, Ian.
You're at 189,990. Need
Oh,
10 more.
Brad said we're at 189.90. There's only 10 more, and we're going to break through 190,000. You guys, let's do this. So I took a side break to hear Brad tell me we're 10 from breaking through 190,000 right now. Okay, Ian, please ask the question again.
Yeah, Cheryl J says, who can we contact for help with abduction and something that has been implanted?
Remember, it was only a couple of months ago that I had on Lester Velez, who has a new book out, and he is a founder of the Opus Foundation, and their whole goal is to try to do exactly that. Have people feel comfortable to reach out to Opus. Kathleen Martin on the East Coast does this as well for MUFON. So MUFON and Opus are both trying to make themselves available. And when I did the interview with Lester, we put up all of the contact information, and I don't have that at my fingertips right now, but let's have this agreement. Any of you, if 190,000 of you wanted to have help, send me an email saying, can you put me in touch with Les Velez at Opus? Or maybe this is even faster. Just go to your search bar in your computer and type in capital O, capital P, capital U, capital S, Opus. It'll bring up that website. And Les Velez, if you go back into our archive of the Earthfiles YouTube channel, I think it was about 8 weeks ago, there was Lester Velez. You just can go through the entire playlist. We go all the way back to the end of 2017, and all of every show I've done in the playlist. So you would be, I guess you could do a search for Lester Velez and Opus as well as the Earthfiles playlist. But that's your entry point. Here for Opus, you type that in and you can reference, you can send an email and say, Linda Moulton Howe at Earthfiles and the YouTube channel had Lester Velez on, and I would like to get help with how can I have hypnosis? Can I be helped with trying to find out if I have an implant in my ear or something that's bothering you? You communicate your questions directly to Opus, Kathleen Martin at MUFON, and they will help. I know that because I have worked with people who have been helped. I think for a long time that there was fear. People were afraid that if they went to get hypnosis and somebody found out that they were abductee to a UFO craft by non-humans, that they would be drummed out of society or something. And that is at least a mark on the evolution that we have gone. I don't think that most people who keep up with reading and headlines doubt any longer that we certainly are not alone in this universe. And that when Avery Haynes, the DNI in the United States government, says that she is not ruling out extraterrestrials and that it could be a distinct possibility that that is what UAP UFOs are, that is a sea change for somebody who has a very responsible position in the Department of Defense. And those headlines that are now coming from the government, I think are helping everybody who wants to come forward, because I get hundreds of emails, hundreds every week. They are intelligent and they are from around the world. So reach out, you'll get help.
Linda, I've got a special announcement. You've just broken through 190,000.
Yay, you guys! Oh, I'm so glad. You know, it's in one sense, it's sort of like playing, you know, if you like to play Scrabble or something, where you win. It is a feeling, in this case, that it translates, the number translates to your support. I wouldn't be at 199,000 without your support. And that's what makes it feel so good. And that there's joy because we are connecting. We are all connecting around what I consider to be the single most profound subject in the 21st century going forward, because we've got to get out of this incredible straitjacket that the world has been in for centuries, held by power brokers, that we are the only intelligent life in the universe. It's so preposterous, stupid really, that it's amazing that it has stuck as allegedly a truth through the millennia. And today it's breaking. We're breaking through all of this old, strange cement. And that makes this dialogue from me to you and you to me there is a feeling of joy, because we are dealing with truth. We're dealing with facts. And they were suppressed for so long. And as I have said to you guys, I can't believe that the divine field behind, let's say, a cosmos of infinite number of universes, and we're just in one. I cannot believe that the divine field would want an entire planet to be constantly consumed by lies, policies of denials. No one is to know this, no one is to know that, while select people are going out to get rare minerals from the asteroid belt without anybody on Earth even knowing what was happening, let alone what is the truth behind all of the different extraterrestrial groups. I am reading something now that is a document that was sent to me. I cannot prove that it's valid. I think it is. It was sent to me as a true, relatively 20-year-old, or approximately that age, document. And the letter that came with it said, we are now, meaning, I guess we'll call them the insiders that are allowed to know the truth. This was the number. We are now aware of, studying with, interacting. There are 168 other life civilizations that our government knows about. And if that was 20 years ago, how many are there now? So it is like Disney World. The people behind the props, the people behind the holograms, they have been knowing and controlling and interfering and all sorts of things with the part of the story that is real, while the rest of us have been slammed by these straitjackets that no. If you go along this road, if you investigate animal mutilations or human abductions or Sasquatch, or you're crazy, it's not true, and now it's all turning 180 degrees. You're here, my work, it all is based on solid sources, evidentiary material. We are not alone in this universe. We knew that there were other life forms on the moon, that there have been a civilization on Mars. John Brandenburg's book is correct. There is a big base inside of Ganymede, one of the moons of Jupiter, and on and on and on. And my understanding is right now that we actually have a Space Force representatives in 22 different solar systems out at least about 104 light years. Now, what's interesting is I say this to you feeling somewhat correct because I have had that same material given to me by two completely independent sources. So I think that I can say to you, and that eventually, I hope this will be reported on the front page of the New York Times. Our government, our Space Force, is operating out in 21, 22 solar systems right now. Why shouldn't the entire planet be involved in all of this? That, to me, is the overriding question. Who decided and why that the latest new genetic manipulation on the block, Homo sapiens sapien, was to be homogenized into certain groups of thought by non-humans who would make sure that there would be divisions among humans, and then those power brokers would cast the rules through an artificial construct that had nothing to do with the reality that they came from, which is in the Milky Way galaxy, 168 life form civilizations at least, and that this is one galaxy from the Hubble Deep Field, where the estimate is that there are 3 trillion galaxies in this universe, in this one universe. And when you start just studying the physics and the astronomy, you can't go back anymore to where once upon a time humans were supposed to stay and not think and never question. Our own astrophysics, we're being pushed in new directions about the nature of this universe, other dimensions, other timelines, and that life forms can be in all of them and interacting. That's where this is headed. Okay.
Linda, can you talk about the cold Black Sea? That's what a lot of your viewers are asking about as well.
Well, I just finished in that previous that from my point of view, the truth is 3 trillion galaxies in this one universe. This one universe having a metaphor of the black and the white, the yin and the yang, for reasons that none of us will probably ever know why, how. But that astrophysical science is moving rapidly to a whole new definition of, let's say, cosmos with a capital C. And that cosmos includes perhaps an infinite number of universes, untold numbers of timelines, dimensions. And when you get your mind starting to weave around that as a concept, and you come back to the universe that we are in, why is the black versus the white in various degrees, whether you're talking about hate and love and death and life and light and dark, and you can continue those opposites on. Why would this universe seem to have a theme? It certainly is on our planet. But the theme, I think, is also in our faces at the nature of neutron stars and gamma ray bursts that can take out surface life on a planet like that. And that as long as this universe has been here, and it's supposed to be at 13.8 billion. But my understanding from talking with Roger Penrose is there is no beginning. There may be a timeline for this particular universe, but that we are in a cosmos that is infinite cycles with no end and no beginning. And when you start immersing yourself in trying to understand or grasp or feel or sense that, like trying to see and understand infinity, that phrase that came from an MJ8 to a source of mine that the Greys had told our government, or MJ12, that we were in a particular universe that was surrounded by a cold, dark sea. And when my source asked MJ8, what is the cold, dark sea? The answer was, you don't want to know. And at various times with Buddy Bolton and remote viewers, I've asked. The reason that I haven't done an Earthfiles YouTube channel broadcast yet about that, what is the implication of the cold, dark sea, is because when you get somebody to do remote viewing or something, there seems to be tremendous churning resistance in terms of having access. And I think that means it's true. But that even remote viewers can't get access. I'm going to continue trying as best I can, trying to penetrate that phrase, a cold, dark sea. But to me, the bigger truth, and I mean this from my soul, my heart to you, the bigger truth is, if one universe has a cold, dark sea that wraps it, around the cold, dark sea, to infinity, is the thought that dwells in the light. That is the divine field. And that is what you want to embrace and to have embrace you. Is Ian there?
2 minutes.
Is he in there? Are we at
Yep,
the end?
I'm here, and thank you very much, Linda. I want to just go through the latest batch of super chats very quickly. Joan 0111, Louis Conjura, Seth Covington, John Kay, Aunt Lynn, William Gallison, and Solicat. Thank you very much. I'd like to take this opportunity as well to say Happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the United States and whoever celebrates it around the world.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Super Chats. Thank you, 190,000 subscribers. Try to spread the word, and let's see if we can get Earthfiles YouTube channel up to 200,000 at some point in the future. And the reason is because that represents the growth, the evolution, the education, the change of a dialogue that is so important, that all humans on this planet deserve to be able to have the truth about all of these subjects that we can step around, and that I am always seeking people who have firsthand experiences to bring them on the Earthfiles YouTube channel. And what I know is that your letters are so intelligent, your experiences are profound, and that here is a place that we can continue to evolve and share, no matter what the Department of Defense decides to open up or not. We are talking about the truth here. Thousands of you are talking about the truth. You know it is nuts to say that we are alone in this universe. That's the crazy part. So, tonight, celebrating 190,000 subscribers to me is celebrating evolution, that we are in fact beginning to have a population on this planet of human beings that realize we were sold a bill of goods, and now is the excitement of continuing to find the truth and to honor the pressure of facts. And I guess I also want to say, on this eve of Thanksgiving, the last 2 years with COVID, they have just been so difficult in the sense that we human beings, I think, like so much to be together, and humans love to hug each other. And there is something about humanness that I want to see survive. And that we are at such a perilous time in which now a fourth wave is coming, and that vaccinations and masks have been weaponized, and they never should have been weaponized. But that I hope that all of you will be protected, and that we will get into 2022, and that at the Conscious Life Expo, that is going to be in the first weekend of February of 2022, they are expecting that I and others will be there to speak for the first time now in, it's a little over 2 years, not being in a physical space with a physical audience, that we can hang out and have these Q&As together in lobbies, restaurants, backstage. But February 2022, maybe it's going to happen again. And I urge those of you in California who can make the Conscious Life Expo, try to do it. They're going to be careful, but it will be the first step getting back, let's hope. And on that note, for all of you who could make Conscious Life Expo that are here on the Earthfiles YouTube channel, then we've got to have some kind of a party together. Everybody who is a subscriber, let me know if you're going to go to Conscious Life Expo in LA, and we'll figure out something that we can do to literally, even if we have to do this, to be in the same place and the same space, and to be able to stay up after midnight if you want to, talking about the truth, the facts that are emerging fast every day, that we are in a universe that is so much different than we were ever taught a few decades ago. I think it's exciting. I love you for being on this journey with me at the Earthfiles YouTube channel. And let's go for 200,000 whenever and however it happens. And maybe I'll see some of you at Conscious Life in February. But here's my final piece tonight. I am working on something really hard, really complicated. I want to get to a point where I can share some of it with you and to put it in a form. And what I would like to do is feel this joy with you tonight, and you guys continue to come next Wednesday and the Wednesday and Wednesday and Wednesday through December. But I am going to be working. And I've asked Eric to make sure that each of the Wednesdays in December, I'm talking about December only, that you will be treated to a really, really good, important Earthfiles YouTube channel broadcast. and come each Wednesday, and then send me emails if you have questions, or if you want to see me come back January 5th. I will be back January 5th for a brand new New Year's, us in this form, but I'll be back here live. And that over this month, I'm really going to be working hard. I'm going to be enjoying the holiday also at some point with my friends and my brother, but mostly a working December so that I can get further without breaking up the week so much and the days, and have something, I hope, extraordinary to report in the new year to you, but wanting you to keep coming on Wednesdays to see the Earthfiles YouTubes that Eric is going to make sure are there. And that even if I am working, you guys do your chats, do the broadcasts, and keep me posted about things that you really are interested in my going into more deeply in 2022. So with that, feel, I guess we're calling this now almost a COVID hug, a digital COVID hug. And someday I hope we can do it in real. But I love you guys. Thank you for getting me over 190 or into 190,000 tonight. And that we'll be here every Wednesday night. And you'll know I'm working hard, but I will be back with what I think will be something really important to share with you in January. All right, you guys, I love you.
Turn on closed captions for YouTube videos by clicking the white CC button on the lower right. The default language for Linda's videos is English. If you would like to see the captions in another language, click on the white settings button next to the CC button. Select Subtitles CC, and then select Auto Translate. Select a language, and the captions will now appear in that language.
Sort of gone through, and they will hold their heads. I never had a cat do that before. And they'll pull against the comb, helping me get out snarls. And I think it's the best they've ever been.